Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another Mad Meta Magic, where we try to make the magic meta mad. Now, today I've got a list from Aspiring Spike. I recently saw him play this list, and it looked really sick. And I think he's actually trophied with this list or very close to it 3 or so times in recent history. Um, it's not exactly a meta deck. I did run into a similar Ephemerate list during the Blitz League that I played recently, but that one was playing Inverter Thassa's Oracle for some reason. This one is a really, really sick Flicker for Value list. So primarily we have Saheeli Rai Cat combo. So, Felidar Guardian flickers Saheeli Rai. Saheeli Rai then is able to activate again to make a copy of Felidar Guardian with haste, add infinitum, repeat until your opponent's dead. There is a lot of secondary combos in this list that are pretty sick as well. So if you have an Auriok champion on the field, and you have a Felidar Guardian, and you have another Felidar Guardian, that's infinite life. If you have a Soul Herder, and you have Felidar Guardian, that is an infinitely large Soul Herder. If you have Glasspool Mimic played as Glasspool Shore, so you play this as a land, you Felidar Guardian Glasspool Shore, you can have Glasspool Shore enter as a copy of Felidar Guardian and then go infinite that way. If you have something to take advantage of the exile or enters the battlefield triggers. And then we basically just have a whole bunch of ways as creatures to help assemble that combo. We have Watcher for Tomorrow. Personally, this changed when I watched some of Aspiring Spike's video. I thought this card was bad. I was like, oh yeah, it's a 2-mana 2/1 that enters tapped, and it impulses but very slowly. This card has drawn him so many cards. It's absurd. And it just helps get through your deck really, really fast. You can Violin it off of Aether Vial. It's way better than it looks. Wall of Omens, good anti-aggro tech, draws a card. It's about the minimum amount of value you want in a blink target. We have Militia Bugler, which can grab everything in this list, including all sideboard creatures, which is fantastic. And then we have Fun of Venser, just as, sort of a counterspell, bounce any problematic permanent sort of deal. And Soul Herder, as a repeatable flicker engine, gets bigger whenever a creature gets exiled from the battlefield. It's incredibly powerful when you're dealing with a bunch of this stuff. And of course, we have the best flicker spell printed in Modern, which is Ephemerate, which is Cloud Shift with Rebound. It's pretty good. The mana base looks a little sketchy to me, but that's just me personally. I'm not going to question too much about the composition of things, because I've seen how effective this deck is built, and odds are, if you see me completely bomb with this list, I either played against completely bad matchups for the deck, or, more likely, I constantly punted or wasn't playing in the right sort of mindset or wasn't attempting the right strategy. So we have Snowlands for On Thin Ice, because this card is excellent removal. It's basically a sorcery speed, path swords, but it doesn't give your opponent anything. It lets them buy back their creature if they can destroy your land that it's enchanting or the enchantment itself. So there's a little bit of risk if you exile a creature with enters the battlefield effects. We have Damping Sphere, which is just anti-Tron, anti-Storm combo hate. It's good in this deck, especially because we have Aether Vials, so we're probably only casting at most one spell a turn anyway. It's a little bit awkward with Ephemerate and the Rebound, but the corner case for that's pretty small. This is supposed to be a 4th Auriok champion. I don't have one, and it's like $40 to get one. So I'm just replacing it with a Core Firewalker. Honestly, in this scenario, I probably should put in a 3rd Rest in Peace, a 4th Damping Sphere, a 4th Force, or a 4th Avalanche Riders. So Rest in Peace versus Dredge versus Graveyard combo, you're going to want Rest in Peace. Force of Negation. This one I thought was interesting because I actually watched some of Aspiring Spike's League, and he wasn't bringing it in versus the decks I thought he would bring it in. He brought it in versus Dredge, which makes sense. If you can stop an early Dredge, it's pretty important. If you counter one of their big setup spells, it could make a huge difference. And finally, we have Avalanche Riders. This card is hilarious with all of the flicker ability that we have. You vial it in, the Echo triggers on the stack, and then the next turn, and then you Ephemerate it in response to the trigger, or you vial in something to flicker it, or you Glasspool Mimic it. Something crazy happens. You just blow up all your opponent's lands. So without any further ado, I think I'm going to take this into a constructed league. and hopefully I do well. Alrighty, round 1, and we'll be on the play. Yeah, I think this hand is worth keeping. It's a little awkward with a tapped Prairie Stream on turn 2, because I would like to cast Auriok Champion versus a lot of decks. I don't know if it's correct to fetch up a Steam Vents or a Sacred Foundry to begin with, but I'm going to. Hopefully that doesn't matter. I'm going to go with Sacred Foundry because the white mana symbols seem to be the most important. We'll start on Aether Vial. Obviously, drawing an untapped land here would be fantastic. Opponent is definitely going to take an Auriok Champion from us. If they're Death Shadow, if they're Jund, resolving an Auriok Champion should be very high priority here. They take Auriok Champion. Alright, show me an untapped land, please. That is not an untapped land. Play a Prairie Stream tapped, pass the turn. We get Inquisitioned again. There goes the other Auriok Champion. If only we'd had untapped mana there. I guess the mana situation was a little bit sketch, but opponent plays a second Blackcleave Cliffs, Aether Vial, ticking up to 2. We draw Soul Herder number 3, pass the turn. Opponent plays a Nurturing Peatland, Thoughtseize. Well, they can take Soul Herder or Saheeli, they take Saheeli. Then they play Tarmogoyf. We untap, Vial going up to 3. We get a Skyclave Apparition. So pass the turn, opponent untaps, they go to combat. Attack us for 4. I am going to Vial in Skyclave Apparition, exiling Tarmogoyf. If they kill Skyclave Apparition, they only get a 2/2 out of the deal. Okay, they play Liliana. They're probably going to Edict here. We untap. Aether Vial going to stay on 3 for now. We draw Arid Mesa. So play Arid Mesa, fetch with Arid Mesa, get a plane. I guess it is technically correct to play one of these and Vial in the other, and choose to only exile one of them. Because Soul Herder's ability is a May. So I'll say yes for that one. Okay. Okay. And no for that one. Pass the turn. In theory, at least one Soul Herder survives. If we could get a value flicker target here, like if we could draw Militia Bugler or the Watcher for tomorrow, even Wall of Omens would be great. Then we could start flickering a lot. Opponent upticks Lily, forces us to discard our third Soul Herder. Opponent discards Kroxa. They play a Tarmogoyf, sure. They go to combat. They don't attack. We untap. Aether Vial, I still think is going to stay on 3. We draw Mystic Gate. Play Mystic Gate. Pass the turn. So I will say yes to the first one, no to the second one. Opponent untaps. Opponent plays Renin 6, so they can clear our whole board if they're willing to cash in Liliana. And it looks like they're going to. I mean, Soul Herder is a pretty dangerous creature. Alright, so best case scenario for us here is we draw like Militia Bugler getting the Copycat. I'm not ticking this up. We draw Ephemerate, which unfortunately doesn't do anything here. Pass the turn. I mean, if we're losing this, it's because my opponent had 3 hand hate spells before we really even got to play a single spell. Aether Vial doesn't count. Opponent goes to combat, hits us for 6. We go down to 4. We are dead to Lightning Bolt here. They play Seasoned Pyromancer, dumping their hand, which is Renin 6 Fatal Push. Okay. I don't think we have anything that will work for this situation to keep us alive, but I'll draw and see if we can get there. Nope. Okay. So yeah, we just need to have a hand that we can actually play out our spells. That tap land really killed us. So versus Jund. What do we have that's bad? Like, really bad versus Jund? Anything? I don't want to play Force of Negation versus my opponent, because really we should be gaining a ton of value by flickering. I don't want to dump multiple cards just to hit a hand hate spell. That's like letting my opponent take 2 suboptimal cards instead of 1 optimal card. Like, maybe I should do that, but I'm not 100% on that. I could play Avalanche Riders here, but they play Renin 6. They do have big creatures, and On Thin Ice potentially is pretty high value, but they also play Assassin's Trophy and Abrupt Decay. I think I'm just going to run it back. I could play Rest in Peace because they do have Kroxa, but let's just have a real curve. I'd like to play first. This is much better, infinitely better than our first attempt. So I'm going to keep this, and I'm going to lead on Flooded Strand again. We'll get Sacred Foundry, then play Mystic Gate into Watcher, probably. If Watcher gets Thoughtseized, we'll play Wall of Omens. Pass the turn. There's some notion that maybe I should play out Glasspool Mimic for turn 1 just to have it on board, because now it can get Thought Seized and I could lose out on a really sick Felidar Guardian play, but we'll see. Because it's not like my opponent can take Flooded Strand from us, so maybe it was better to limit their options. They take Skyclave Apparition. That's pretty reasonable. It's a good card versus them. So we'll fetch up a Sacred Foundry, tapped, untap, draw Plains, play Mystic Gate. And I'm going to go with Watcher here, because Watcher is bad if they can kill it in response to its trigger. Hideaway, it's tempting to take Ephemerate, it's also tempting to take Saheeli. I think the pick here is either Watcher or Ephemerate. I'm going to go with Ephemerate. Rest can go to the bottom. Pass the turn. Okay, opponent cracks Wooded Foothills for an Overgrown Tomb. It's probably a Renin 6. It's a Tarmogoyf. We untap. We draw Glasspool Mimic. So I can play Plains, play Glasspool Mimic on Watcher. I can play Wall, play Plains, or play Wall and play Glasspool. I don't think I need to Mimic this, so I'm gonna play Wall here. See what we draw. Felidar Guardian. So I'm gonna play Glasspool Shore. This way, if I play Felidar Guardian, I can actually flicker this land and then have it enter as a copy of Felidar Guardian. If I draw... There's a lot of good draws from this position. Opponent plays Kroxa. We're going to discard Snow-Covered Plains because we don't need it. Opponent sacks Kroxa. Passes. We untap and draw Felidar Guardian. I could just make a wall of Felidar Guardians. So I think what we do here is play a Plains. I can play the Guardian, flicker Glasspool, copy Guardian, flicker Wall. I could also flicker Watcher. That's probably higher value. Okay. Enter as a copy of Felidar Guardian. And I'm going to flicker Watcher. So we get Ephemerate. Then we get to Hideaway. I'll take a Glasspool Mimic. Maybe I should go with 4th land, actually. Yeah, let's go with the 4th land. Pass the turn. Opponent plays Kroxa. I think I can discard the other cat now. We get an Aether Vial. So, play Glasspool Shore. Play Aether Vial. Pass the turn. We're getting Inquisitioned. So let's flicker this Mimic. Alright, we'll have it enter as a copy of Felidar Guardian. And we'll flicker Watcher. So we can get an island, which our opponent knows about, but that's fine. It's not like they can take it. We'll take another Ephemerate. Rest of the bottom. Like, look at that. Watcher's already dug us, like, 12 or 16 cards into our deck. That's not crazy at all. I could have flickered Glasspool again and had another Felidar Guardian, or had another Watcher. Alright, we untap. Okay, Ephemerate coming off Suspend. We'll hit Watcher. Alright, get Ephemerate. Hideaway. Soul Herder is pretty awesome. So we'll take Soul Herder, rest of the bottom. Aether Vial, taken up to 1. We draw Glasspool Mimic. How do I go about this? Play Snow-Covered Island. If I mimic something, I think I mimic Felidar Guardian. Then I'm going to flicker Watcher. I've played a land this turn. I'm going to flicker the Glasspool. And I think I'm just going to make this one a copy of Watcher. Ooh, we can definitely get an Auriok Champion out of this. And then we're going to have Infinite Life. So pass the turn. And we have this Pocket Ephemerate, which is going to be awesome. Opponent plays a Blackcleave Cliffs tapped. Flicker Watcher. I mean, if they kill it, we... Okay, we're going to copy Watcher. Let's go ahead and get the card we put away, which is Auriok Champion. Hideaway. We can get Saheeli. Okay. Then we can untap, stack the Rebound trigger under Aether Vial, tick Aether Vial up to 2, Vial in Auriok Champion, Rebound, hitting this Watcher. Alright, then we can clone the cat, targeting another cat, gaining life. Oh, hang on, always yes to. Watcher gives us Saheeli Rai. We can flicker Felidar Guardian, cloning Felidar Guardian, blinking Felidar Guardian. Just gain an arbitrary amount of life. If I had a Soul Herder, I could make an arbitrarily large Soul Herder here. I think I'm going to go up to 30. I don't want to gain... Like, this isn't winning the game, but it is going to give us a pretty healthy delay. Alright, that's up to 24. And we can end this by cloning an additional Auriok Champion. Yeah, this is fine. We'll get another Auriok champion. We draw a Wall of Omens. Let's go ahead and play Saheeli Rai. Opponent definitely has a Lightning Bolt, Assassin's Trophy, something here. So, clone Felidar Guardian. Okay. Opponent cracks Bloodstained Mire for a swamp. They're going to Fatal Push the Guardian. Or not. Well, flicker Saheeli Rai. The game's over. They just pump faked they had Fatal Push and quit? Okay. Sure. Game 3, do we want to make any adjustments? I guess if I had the 4th Auriok champion, I would probably bring it in, but I don't. Alright, we'll be on the draw for round 3. I'm going to keep this. It's not the greatest hand, but I don't know how to mulligan with this deck at all. I'm going to lead on Glasspool Mimic as a land, that's for sure. Unless they Inquisition it away from me. Opponent starts Bloodstained Mire. Cracks Bloodstained Mire for a Blood Crypt. And Inquisition. So ideally we would go Mimic into Wall of Omens, into Soul Herder. But let's see what they take. They can't take Guardian. Soul Herder is the easiest for them to answer, but one of the most dangerous. I really think they take Glasspool Mimic here. They take Wall. Okay. We untap and draw Skyclave Apparition. So play Glasspool Shore. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. Now if we could just draw like Watcher for tomorrow here, that'd be pretty sick. Opponent shocks Stomping Ground, plays Wrenn 6. And they pick up a land. We untap. Draw Watcher for tomorrow. So play Prismatic Vista, fetch with Prismatic Vista, get a Plains, play Watcher. I'm going to get another Skyclave Apparition here, because Skyclave Apparition strikes me as very good versus their deck. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. Down ticks to kill Watcher for tomorrow. They play a Verdant Catacombs. They play a Tarmogoyf. We untap. We draw Prairie Stream. So, play Arid Mesa. Fetch with Arid Mesa. I'm going to get just another... No, I probably should get a Hallowed Fountain, actually. Play Skyclave Apparition. Take out Goyf. I mean, I could have taken out Wrenn 6 there, but... Opponent cracks Verdant Catacombs on our end step. Gets a Blood Crypt untapped. And Lightning Bolt Skyclave Apparition to get a 2/2. Alright. Opponent upticks Wrenn 6. Plays a Verdant Catacombs. Cracks Verdant Catacombs. For a swamp. Bloodbraid? It's a Bloodbraid. What do they get? Kolaghan's Command. So they can make us discard and do damage to us. I'm going to discard Prairie Stream. They hit us for 5. Sure. We untap. We draw Glasspool Mimic. So play Glasspool Shore. Play Skyclave Apparition. Take out Wrenn 6. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. I mean, we're like 2 lands and a Saheeli away from winning the game. Another Bloodbraid Elf. Just running Bloodbraid Elves. They wheel into a Seasoned Pyromancer. That's pretty good. So they dump their whole hand and draw 2 cards. They discard Nurturing Peatland and Abrupt Decay. So I think we do trade. The alternative is giving them a 2/2 token, but going to 1. So, alright. We untap. We draw a Watcher for tomorrow. That doesn't do anything. Play a Mountain. So 5 mana. Play Felidar Guardian. Flicker Glasspool Shore. Make a copy of Felidar Guardian. Flickering Glasspool Shore. Make a copy of Felidar Guardian. Flicker a Plains. Then play Watcher. Take Saheeli, because that's probably how we're going to win. If we're going to win at all. Pass the turn. And we have 3 really good blockers. And unless my opponent has a Bolt or a Haste creature or removal, we can survive a turn. Because as it stands right now, by them just attacking and us doing max prevention, we go to 1. Kroxa doesn't kill us because we can discard Soul Herder. That kills us, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, definitely kills us. Alright. Sad day, but, I mean, we got to see a little bit of the power of this list. Definitely was a bad keep in game 1, which I'm pretty sure is why I lost that round. So I'll see you guys in round 2. Alrighty, we'll be on the draw for round 2, and this looks like an alright opener. We'll keep. Like, best top deck here would be Aether Vial, for sure. Opponent starts Steam Vents tapped. We untap and draw Soul Herder. I'm going to lead on Plains, pass the turn. So this could be Through the Breach, this could be Storm, this could be Grixis Control or Grixis Death Shadow. We draw a Mountain, play Mystic Gate, and double white, and I'm going to go Auriok Champion here. I've got a feeling that us gaining life is important. They have Spell Snare? Main deck Spell Snare, so this is probably Grixis Control. That's the only deck I can think of that would be playing that. Drowned Catacomb, yeah, it's definitely Grixis Control. Alright, we draw Militia Bugler. So, go with the Militia Bugler. Next turn, we'll just double spell with Watcher for Tomorrow and Wall of Omens. Okay, Bugler resolves. We whiff. That kind of sucks. Pass the turn. Opponent's got a Lightning Bolt. No, they got something else. Kolagon's Command. They're going to do 2 damage to us and make us discard. I think I discard Felidar Guardian, actually. Because if we can make it to 5 mana, Soul Herder plus a 2-drop is pretty powerful. Opponent plays a Swamp. We untap. We draw Aether Vial. So go to combat. Attack for 2. Okay. Opponent goes down to 18. We'll play Prismatic Vista, play Aether Vial to get around Mana Leak. Alright. Crack Prismatic Vista. Let's get our basic island. And just cast Soul Herder here. If they don't kill him immediately, we get a free flicker out of him, which is pretty good. It's probably a Mana Leak. Could be a Drown in the Lock. It's a Drown in the Lock, killing Militia Bugler. Okay. Soul Herder, also probably not going to resolve. Opponent only has 3 cards left in their hand. And those got to be pretty good cards, because our cards all draw us cards. But it plays a tap land. We untap, Aether Vial going up to 1. We draw another Wall of Omens. I'm going to lead on Wall of Omens. I just feel like this is the least likely creature to get countered. Wow, okay. Cast Watcher for Tomorrow, then. Let's get an Ephemerate. Rest to the bottom. Pass the turn. Our opponent is basically out of action. They gotta start top decking really well. They draw land. We untap. Aether Vial definitely going to 2. We draw Glasspool Mimic. Alright, so let's play Glasspool Mimic as a creature. Now, the reason I'm doing this is my opponent might counter or answer the other Watcher in response. I guess I'll get a Glasspool Mimic. Rest of the bottom. Go to combat. Attack for 2. Opponent going down to 16. They untap. They draw. They play a Sulphur Falls. Opponent had a handful of answers and no card advantage. So let's Vial in Wall of Omens. See what we draw. It's another Glasspool Mimic. Untap. Vial definitely going up to 3. We draw Ephemerate, which is awesome. Go to combat. Attack for 4. I can do so much at instant speed. I don't even need to do anything right now. Opponent untaps. They draw another land. They pass the turn. Vial in Glasspool Mimic. Copying Watcher. Game's over. Alright. So opponent got a little bit unlucky there, but man, I don't know about them not having any card advantage spells. I mean, they have to in their deck somewhere, right? They're a control deck. I'm going to bring in Avalanche Riders and Force of Negation. Because of the amount of answers that they have, I'm going to go down to like 1 Saheeli Rai. Go down a couple of Wall of Omens, and then like maybe a Skyclave Apparition, 1 Guardian. We'll try it like this. This is a very strange board for me, but I think this will work. Alright, we're on the draw. This hand has power in it, but we're not doing anything till turn 4, so I think we mulligan. This hand is a lot better. I'm going to keep, and I think I'm okay putting back an Arid Mesa. Now, I would like to draw another blue card to Force of Negation if possible. If we can land this Auriok Champion early, my opponent shouldn't be able to remove it from the board unless they like Cryptic Bounce it. So maybe to make sure it resolves, I'd even lead on Wall of Omens. Opponent Thought Scours us. So they're trying to power up their Drown in the Locks. Opponent plays a Creeping Tar Pit. We untap, draw Wall of Omens. So I'm going to go for the Auriok Champion. Opponent is main decking Spell Snare, but I don't know how many of those they could possibly have between main and sideboard. It's a card that they can't play like 4 of, generally. Alright, Auriok Champion resolves. That's fantastic. Opponent should have a tough time dealing with that, because most of their onboard removal is going to be black or red. Opponent plays a Scalding Tarn, passes. So they could flash in like a Snapcaster to block it, so I don't think I'm going to attack into open mana for it, but let's go white, filtering out a blue, play Wall of Omens. Okay. Always yes, always yield. Gain a life, draw a card, play Arid Mesa, pass the turn. I suppose if my opponent had a Damnation, I would have to force that, pitching Venser, but no attacks, we'll just wait. Venser, another one of those spells that's incredible if you can ephemerate him. Okay, opponent fetches up a basic mountain. There's the Snapcaster we knew about. They're going to cast Thought Scour again. We gain a life. They're going to Thought Scour themselves. Okay. They mill Kalitas and an island. Untap. They play Castle Vantress. And pass the turn. So we're going to fetch up a Sacred Foundry here. We do have a very limited number of red sources. Untap. We draw another Arid Mesa. Play a Plains, and let's go ahead and play Wall of Omens. Okay. Gain a life, draw a card. Glasspool Mimic. Alright, pass the turn. I mean, if we can just get a bunch of Auriok champions on the board, my opponent's going to have a tough time dealing with it. This also gives us something to pitch to force if we don't want to pitch Venser. This must be an interesting place for the control player to be, because we're gaining more value by playing, like, what would otherwise be relatively unplayable cards. Like, think about what I'm saying here. Like, I'm playing a 2-mana 0/4 that draws me a card, which is great, because it provides value, it stops Snapcaster from getting in chip damage, and draws me a card. My opponent is stuck on lands, we're not. I think I'm going to hold on to Avalanche Riders, because they're going to have to tap out for something. And when they do, they'll be sad. And right now, we can just, like, cast Force of Negation, we could flash Venser if we want to. Venser bouncing Tar Pit would be pretty funny, because then they have to play another tap land. And Venser is one of those spells that my opponent is likely going to have to do something about. I could pitch Force if I really want him to resolve. Alright, flash Venser. So, like, if my opponent Cryptics, I think I'll Force. If they just, like, Mana Leak or Drown in the Lock, I won't. I didn't crack Arid Mesa prior to this because of my opponent having Drown in the Lock. I was going to say, opponent knows we're a Flicker deck, so us flickering Venser a whole bunch of times and bouncing all their lands would be pretty nasty. There's the Cryptic. So let's go ahead. I'm actually going to pitch the Glasspool Mimic here. Let's Force of Negation this Cryptic. Opponent dispels Force of Negation. Alright, that's fine. Now, if we could draw an Ephemerate here, that would just be incredibly nasty. Let's get a Hallowed Fountain tapped. We untap. Come on, Ephemerate. Felidar Guardian. I don't think that does anything. So play Avalanche Riders. I can either take out their red source or one of their black sources. I honestly think I take out Creeping Tar Pit. So blow it up. Go to combat. Offer the trade. Opponent does not take it. We take them to 13. Alright, pass the turn. Opponent untaps. Shocks a Blood Crypt. And is now passing. Yeah, I think I'm going to pay for Avalanche Riders. We'll pay for the Echo cost here. We draw Prairie Stream. Play Prairie Stream. Go to combat. This time, I'm not going to attack. Opponent, I think, now has to have removal and start casting it. Or they need a way to get back on board, so like a Damnation or something to that effect. The fact that they're drawing lands now is pretty good for them. Alright, we untap. I still would really like an Ephemerate. We get a Watcher for tomorrow, that's pretty sick. So let's play Watcher. Opponent drowns Watcher. Well, they no longer have Cryptic mana. I'm going to go with Felidar Guardian here. Actually, is Skyclave better? No, Felidar Guardian is. I think they have to counter this. Okay, there's another drown. Sure. Go to combat. Attack for 2. See if our opponent takes the trade. They do this time. Alright, that tells me they probably do not have a board sweeper. They untap. Opponent shocks a Steam Vents. They must have an expensive card advantage spell. Kolagon's Command, they're picking up, I think Snapcaster Mage, we're discarding Skyclave. Yep, they didn't pick up Kalitas, so they picked up Snapcaster. We untap. Draw another Skyclave. Alright, pass the turn. I'm actually going to restart the client really quick. Alright, no attacks. Pass the turn. Opponent's going to keep Snapcaster in hand until they can utilize it at its most effective, which is why we're not attacked. I guess I could have attacked with Auriok and forced them to play it, but Auriok Champion being on board is one of our main advantages at the moment. Play Saheeli Rai. They Thought Scour themselves, milling 2 lands. They Thought Scour themselves, milling Lightning Bolt Fatal Push. They cast Snapcaster, target Drown in the Lock, then they Drown in the Lock Saheeli? Okay. So the only way this goes wrong is if my opponent has Fatal Push. So we're going to Skyclave Apparition, take out Snapcaster, gain a life. Yeah, if they have Fatal Push to kill Skyclave, they could make a 2/2 token and kill Auriok Champion here. But this is our best chance to, I think, start sneaking in some damage. Nope, they got it. Well, we at least got rid of their Snapcaster. Could you imagine if Skyclave, instead of a, like, blue illusion, gave your opponent a black spirit? Or something crazy like that? Like, the synergy that would have with Auriok Champion? That would just be insane. Opponent Thought Scours themselves, milling Bolt and Drown. They play a Scalding Tarn. They attack for 2. Chump with a wall. I was gonna say, if they have a Bolt, they can Bolt it. That's fine. I do not believe that is the best use of Lightning Bolt. We draw Avalanche Riders. Play Avalanche Riders. We're going to kill Castle Vantress. Opponent cracks Scalding Tarn. Gets a Watery Grave untapped. Snapcaster Mage for Cryptic. Okay. So opponent can Cryptic counter draw. Or counter bounce Snap. That might be the best way for them to, yeah. So now they can Snapcaster Drown in the Lock to kill Wall. Or they can Snapcaster Lightning Bolt to kill the Wall. Actually, they can Snapcaster... Never mind, it doesn't work. Alright, opponent passes. We draw Soul Herder. Well, that's something they have to answer. You know what? No, because they can just Kolagon's Command us at any time. We need to cast this. At least until they're out of, like, Snapcaster shenanigans. Also, F6. Okay, Snapcaster. Targeting Kolagon's Command. Kolagon's Command, they can pick up Kalitas and kill Soul Herder. Okay, that's exactly what they do. They untap. They go to combat. They attack for 4. We will chump. They'll probably play Kalitas here. Yep. Alright. We untap. We draw Auriok Champion, which is pretty sweet. They have a counterspell for this. Of course they do. Pass the turn. F6. I mean, we're still not dead for a number of turns yet. Block. They gain some life. We untap. We draw Watcher. Play Watcher. Spell Snare. Okay, pass the turn. They have at least 2 Spell Snares in their deck. And what are they going to do if we get an Aether Vial hand? Opponent activates Castle Vantress's ability. Oh, I suppose I should have wall-blocked Kalitas. Like, it's the same risk of dying. They don't have anything that deals 1 damage as opposed to 2. So I took 1 extra point of damage there than I should have. Hopefully that doesn't matter. Block Kalitas, take 4. Opponent plays Into the Story, draws a whole bunch of cards. Opponent plays Young Pyro. We untap and draw Glasspool Mimic. So, play Glasspool Mimic. It's like a big logic knot. It definitely is a big logic knot. There it is. X8. They gotta be sure. Alright. Going on to game 3. We'll be on the play. We have a little bit of advantage with, what's it called? Like Aether Vial if we can get it. I mean, I guess they have Kolagon's Command, so maybe that's not as useful. Honestly, we should be able to beat them with card advantage. I'm going to bring a second Saheeli back in and drop 1 Avalanche Riders. We're going to play it like this. So if we get a good curve and an Aether Vial, I don't think our opponent can beat us. This is not a good curve, but it's double Aether Vial, so we're slightly protected from a single Kolagon's Command. And my opponent, unless they're playing Spell Pierce, will have no way to counter the second Vial either. So start Aether Vial, pass the turn. Opponent starts Island. We untap. Aether Vial going up to 1. We draw Steam Vents. Play Hallowed Fountain tapped. Play Aether Vial. Pass the turn. Opponent Thought Scour, milling us. Milling Watcher for tomorrow and Auriok Champion. Both of those would have been good draws. They play a Polluted Delta and pass. Vial ticking up. Vial ticking up. We draw another Avalanche Riders. Play Sacred Foundry tapped. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They did not crack Polluted Delta, so odds are they needed to draw that land. We untap. Vial ticking up. Vial ticking up. Draw Flooded Strand. Play Steam Vents tapped. Pass the turn. We're going to see if we can just get a Vial up to 4. Opponent is going to be hesitant to use Kolaghan's Command, I think, proactively because of the, we could just cast spells. Opponent Thought Scours us. Milling Watcher for tomorrow on Aether Vial number 3. Opponent untaps. Looks like they're still having trouble drawing lands, or they're trying to keep a fetch land behind for Fatal Push. That or hide it from Avalanche Riders. That's also a possibility, I suppose. Alright. Vial ticking up. Vial ticking up. We draw Auriok Champion. Play Flooded Strand. Play Auriok Champion. Opponent cracks Polluted Delta for a Watery Grave. Untapped. Cracks Scalding Tarn for a Blood Crypt untapped. So it looks like they're going to Logic Knot us. That's fine. Will not pay 4. Activate Vial. Put in Avalanche Riders. Kill the red source. They push Avalanche Riders. That's fine. Pass the turn. Next turn we can get a double Avalanche Riders potentially while protecting it from removal. That's pretty sweet. Opponent plays a Creeping Tar Pit. So on their end step, fetch with Flooded Strand. We'll get a Prairie Stream. It's our only tap land, I think. Untap. So this Aether Vial staying on 4. This Aether Vial going up to 4. We draw Venser. Oh, that's nasty. Okay, so Aether Vial on 4. Put in Avalanche Riders. Kill Tar Pit. Go to combat. Attack for 2. Opponent Fatal Pushes. Vial in Felidar Guardian. Flicker Riders. Kill Watery Grave. Pass the turn, and we have Venser. Oh, this is so nasty. Opponent plays a 3rd basic island. You got me there. We untap. I am going to pay the Echo cost here. Vial staying on 4. We draw Mystic Gate. Play Mystic Gate. Go to combat. Attack for 3. Opponent takes it. Pass the turn. If they cast like an Archmage's Charm or something to draw cards, we could Vial Venser, bounce Riders, and then Vial Riders. We untap. We haven't even seen Archmage's Charm from our opponent. We saw Into the Story. So Vial sticking around on 4. We draw Ephemerate. Go to combat. Attack for 3. Like, opponent's going to have to do something, or they're just going to lose to the beats. Yeah? If they're not going to play anything, we don't have to do anything yet. If we try and get greedy and take the proactive approach here, I think that's how we lose. Like, we have so much reactive power right now. Go to combat. And, like, they can't tap out because, like, we could just have Saheeli and then that would be game. Head our opponent down to 5. Pass the turn. Man, Avalanche Riders in the Flicker deck. It's so nasty. Yeah, they can't beat that. Oh, dude. All right. I'll see you guys in round 3. All right, round 3, and we will be on the play. This is a little bit risky, and we have to choose between Auriok Champion or Watcher for tomorrow on turn 2. I think we got to go with the Watcher, unless my opponent is like Burn, or a deck that Auriok Champion is very good against. So we won't play the fetch land to thin our deck, because we do want to draw lands. It's looking like Burn. Suspends Rift Bolt. So we untap. We draw Glasspool Mimic. Well, that can be our blue source. So fetch with Prismatic Vista, get another Plains, play Auriok Champion, pass the turn. Now we just got to play a bunch of dudes and gain a lot of life. We get Rift Bolted. Opponent plays a Bloodstained Mire, cracks Bloodstained Mire. If we could get a second Auriok Champion, that'd be even crazier. They play a Mountain into an Eidolon. We gain a life. We untap. We draw Soul Herder. Play Glasspool Shore. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They play Monastery Swiftspear. They take damage. Swiftspear enters the battlefield. We always yes, always yield. They lava spike us. They take damage. Prowess trigger. They attack for 4. We block. Take 2. Go to 13. We untap, draw Wall of Omens. That's technically harder for them to kill than Militia Bugler is, and if we draw a land, we can also play Watcher for tomorrow. So gain a life. We draw Vial. Play Vial. That gets around the Eidolon triggers. Pass the turn. We've stopped all the creature damage, at least momentarily. If they play more creatures, we're gaining life. Block and block. We cannot prevent the damage, so we lose our guys. We lose one of our guys, that sucks. Alright. We draw Ephemerate. That's actually an issue. Maybe I should have played Bugler, because it blocks and kills Eidolon. Play it now. We'll get Skyclave Apparition. Pass the turn. But I think it's too late now. When it goes to combat, does not attack. We untap, Vial on 2. We draw another Vial, which is not useful. Go to combat. Attack for 2. No blocks by the opponent. They go to 11. Pass the turn. There's a good chance we're just dead to, like, double spell, though. They Boros Charm us, which is going to take us to 1, which means we cannot cast any spells until we kill Eidolon. And they missed a land drop while having 4 cards in hand, so we're probably just dead. Yeah, if our mana had been slightly less awkward, I think we'd have won that game. Okay. So we gotta remember that our opponent has... they have Skullcrack. So we're gonna bring in Core Firewalker, and I think on Thin Ice. I'm gonna cut a Saheeli, a Watcher for tomorrow, I think a Bugler, and Venser. Try like this. I would like to play first. We got an Aether Vial opener, so I think I'm going to keep. It's only bad, really, if my opponent has Smash to Smithereens. Start Flooded Strand, fetch up a basic Plains. Play Aether Vial. Pass the turn. Opponent leads on Sunbaked Canyon into a Goblin Guide. Goblin Guide attacks, finding us a Sacred Foundry. Aether Vial going to tick up to 1. Get an Arid Mesa. Play Snow-Covered Island. Play Wall of Omens. Draw Soul Herder. Pass the turn. Opponent plays a Sunbaked Canyon into a Swift Spear. Into a Swift Spear. Go to combat. They attack for 4. Felidar Guardian on top of our deck. Block the 2-power one. Vial going up to 2. We draw Felidar Guardian. So I can either Glasspool Mimic, make another wall, Skyclave Apparition, take out a Swift Spear, play Soul Herder and Flicker Wall. I think Soul Herder is better later. So play Flooded Strand, fetch, get a Plains, and I think we either Mimic or Apparition. Mimic gives us another, like, basically permanent blocker. Apparition takes out a potentially very dangerous threat in Swift Spear. And I'm not even opposed to trading Apparition for the Goblin Guide either. Alright, opponent plays Scalding Tarn, cracks it for a basic mountain. It's probably a Searing Blaze, hitting Skyclave Apparition. They may hold off if they've got Searing Blaze. Okay, they do. So they kill Skyclave Apparition, they get a Prowess trigger, they get a 1/1 token. Then they're going to skewer us. I feel like they should have waited to maybe kill the wall. We draw Flooded Strand, block here, take 2. We untap, Vial going up to 3. We draw Ephemerate. We have no way to gain life. I really want to play Soul Herder and like Guardian this turn. And I think I do it and in that order. So we Vial in Soul Herder. Fetch like a basic mountain. I could play Glasspool Mimic on Soul Herder and leave up Ephemerate. Actually, that might be better than Guardian here. So copy Soul Herder. I mean, this sucks if my opponent has enough burn to just kill us. So Flicker Wall. Flicker Wall. I guess one of these cancels the other out, but they both still get the benefit from flickering at once. We get another Ephemerate. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. Plays a Fiery Islet. They Searing Blaze Soul Herder. So we can Ephemerate Soul Herder. But we're still taking 3. And they got the burn spell. Alright. I'll see you guys in round 4. Alright, for round 4, we'll be on the draw. And I think I'm going to keep this hand. I mean, we could just have the combo hand this time. Opponent starts Swamp, Knight of the Ebon Legion. Draw Felidar Guardian. Play Arid Mesa, pass the turn. With this Arid Mesa, I actually think I'm going to go get Steam Vents because I have 2 basic planes. So if we get double white for something like Skyclave Apparition, we're going to be fine. But it goes to combat, hits us for 1. This strikes me as, it's probably a mono-black budget aggro deck. Steam Vents here lets me play Watcher for tomorrow if I draw it this turn and want to. I think I'm actually going to play Wall of Omens, though. Oh, I guess they can spend their entire mana pool pumping Knight to kill the wall. They have Fatal Push. Okay, we still get to draw. Skyclave Apparition. Perfect. Okay. Opponent plays a Swamp, plays a Silver Smote Ghoul, hits us for 1. We untap, draw Militia Bugler, play a Plains, and we're going to Skyclave Apparition, take out the Knight of the Ebon Legion. This way, if we decide to block and trade, they only get a 1/1 token. Or if they have removal, they only get a 1/1 token. They play a Castle Lochthwain into a Captivating Vampire. Okay, so this is a Vampires deck. Do we take 4? If I draw a land, I can Felidar Guardian, Flickering Skyclave, taking something more important. I think I take the 4 this turn. They play an Indulgent Aristocrat. We untap, draw Aether Vial, play Aether Vial, play Watcher for tomorrow. Let's take Prismatic Vista, the rest of the bottom, pass the turn. Well, if my opponent attacks with Captivating Vampire, we'll block it. Even if they are willing... I guess that would mean they have to sack Indulgent Aristocrat, I suppose. Block here. So I'm expecting them to use Indulgent Aristocrat. Either sacking itself or sacking Silver Smote Ghoul, though that seems like a pretty damage-negative play. Actually, had they sacked Silver Smote Ghoul, they would have gotten it back at end step, because they would have gained 3 or more life off of the lifelink of Indulgent Aristocrat. So Aether Vial, ticking up to 1. Draw Auriok Champion. That's pretty good. Play Auriok Champion. That should help kind of put a damper on things. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They go to combat. They attack. Maximum damage prevention. And we want to draw this land, so we're okay losing Watcher. Okay. We get a Prismatic Vista. Opponent plays another Silver Smote Ghoul. Okay. Always yes, always yield. We untap. Vial going up to 2. So we'd like another 2-drop to Vial in this turn. I think that would be the best case scenario. Ideally, I think another Auriok Champion. Oh man, it's so good. Violin Champion. Gain life. Play Prismatic Vista. Crack Prismatic Vista. Get a basic island. Play Felidar Guardian. I can't even talk today. Gain a bunch of life. Flicker Auriok Champion. Alright. Pass the turn. And it kind of is looking like we're in the clear right now. Mono Black Vampires. That's pretty sweet. We're going to get some more vampires and zombies soon with the upcoming Innistrad sets, too. I forgot about those. Getting hyped. Alright. Take Vial up to 3. We get a Soul Herder. So, play Saheeli. Infinite Cats, Infinite Life. Opponent draws a card in response. They hit the Fatal Push. They did. Alright. So then, I can Vial in Bugler and get another card. Or I can Vial in Soul Herder and gain a bunch of life. And I'm going to go with that play. Pass the turn. No attacks. Flicker Champion. Make Soul Herder bigger. Pass the turn. They play a Swamp. Blood Chief's Thirst to kill Soul Herder. This does mean they can kill Saheeli, unfortunately. But even if they do, that's fine. Because next turn we're going to draw a bunch of cards. And gain a lot of life, too. So Saheeli down. I'm going to keep Vial on 3. We draw Watcher for tomorrow. Vial in Bugler. Gain a bunch of life. Bugler finds us Wall. I can either double spell or I can Flicker Bugler. Honestly, I think double spell's fine. Play Wall. Gain a bunch of life. Draw a card. Felidar Guardian. Play Watcher. Gain a bunch of life. Already back to 20. We'll get Skyclave Apparition. Rest to the bottom. Go to combat. Attack for 2. Pass the turn. At this point, I don't mind throwing Bugler under the bus. Opponent plays a Stromkirk Condemned, and we gain life. So they can discard a card. Okay. So if we block with wall, we lose the wall. That's how that works out. This is still fine. I honestly expected them to draw a card and then discard it to kill the wall, but I guess not. Vial is going to go up to 4. We draw Arid Mesa. Play Arid Mesa. Vial in Felidar Guardian. Gain a bunch of life. Flicker Watcher. Okay. Gain a bunch of life. Dig for a card. Or we get the other card back. Dig for a new card. Glasspool Mimic seems pretty sweet. And so does Soul Herder. I'll take Soul Herder. Rest to the bottom. Play Skyclave Apparition. Gain a bunch of life. Exile Captivating Vampire. It's one of the most dangerous vampires they have. Alright, pass the turn. Good luck, opponent. Like, we're almost to the point of reaching a critical mass that our opponent will never recover from. Unless they hit me with some crazy spell, like I get Plague Winded or something. Or what is it? In Garrick's Wake. Opponent plays Gifted Aetherborn. Sure. We gain life. They activate Castle again. They go to combat. No attacks. Okay. On the unstep, fetch with Arid Mesa, we'll get Sacred Foundry. Tapped. Untap. Vial gonna stay on 4. We draw a Flooded Strand. Play Bugler. Gain a bunch of life. Bugle our way into a... Oh. It's pretty good. Take a Soul Herder, I guess. I could take Venser. We could flicker Venser like infinitely, but... Play Flooded Strand. Fetch with Flooded Strand. Get a Plains. Play Soul Herder. Vial in Felidar Guardian. We now have an arbitrary amount of life. Flicker Felidar Guardian. We have an infinitely big Soul Herder. Alright, opponent scoops. I definitely want On Thin Ice versus this opponent. And they have Fatal Push. I think I'm going to cut a Bugler, 1 Wall, and 1 Saheeli. I'll try like this. Alright. This hand's not amazing, but I think it's worth keeping. We do have an On Thin Ice for the first problem creature our opponent plays, which might be their 1-drop. But it isn't. Draw a Skyclave, which is pretty good. So we'll start Flooded Strand, pass the turn. We're probably going to fetch up a basic Snow Plains, so maybe I should have played Prismatic Vista instead. But with our opponent not playing anything yet, I think I'm fine getting... let's get a Hollowed Fountain. I'm not going to pay any life. Untap. We draw Glasspool Mimic. Yeah, we're not doing anything in instant speed yet, so play Glasspool Shore. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. Plays a Swamp. Plays a Silver Smote Ghoul. We untap and draw Aether Vial. So, play a Snow-Covered Mountain. On Thin Ice the Ghoul. Play Aether Vial. Pass the turn. Opponent plays a Castle Lochthwain. Knight of the Ebon Legion. And a Sorin Imperious Bloodlord. Alright. Aether Vial ticking up to 1. We draw another Aether Vial. Shock Sacred Foundry. Oh, I need another white source. So let's play Skyclave Apparition. And we'll take out... I think we do take out Sorin here. Play another Aether Vial. Yeah, if I'd had a third white source, I could have held up Ephemerate to blank a removal spell and do other cool stuff. But it plays a Swamp. Another Sorin. Okay, they uptick on Knight of the Ebon Legion. They hit us for 3, we don't block. Untap. Vial ticking up. And Vial ticking up. We draw another Glasspool Mimic. Cast Glasspool Mimic. They could have like an Eliminate, I suppose. Victim of Night. Well, that's what the Ephemerate is for. So they get a 3/3 token. We get to kill Night. Victim of Night fails to resolve. Glasspool Mimic copies Skyclave Apparition, which we use to take out Sorin again. Play Prismatic Vista, pass the turn. Opponent goes to combat, attacks us for 3. I'm not willing to double block here. They go to 11. They play Gifted Aetherborn. Crack Prismatic Vista, let's get a white. We untap. Now, I suppose we can Ephemerate this Skyclave Apparition to trade out their 2/3 Death Touch for a 1/1 token, which I think is fine. Hit Gifted Aetherborn. Man, I wonder why no one's played, like... the Skyclave apparition with the illness in the ranks to shrink all the tokens. Play Saheeli Rai. Uptick Saheeli and Scry. Planes to the bottom. 1 damage to our opponent. Pass the turn. Okay, opponent kills Glasspool Mimic with a Fatal Push. Opponent kills our last Skyclave apparition. Well, if we draw the cat, we win. We untap. Vial's ticking up. And we draw what is most certainly not the cat. Going to game 3. I think we keep the same setup here and just run it back. Alright, play first. Yep, seems good. We'll keep. If we can get a Watcher for tomorrow, or Saheeli Rai at any point, probably be in a good spot. Lead on Aether Vial. Pass the turn. I just realized we're playing a Filter land in a deck. We're also playing Damping Sphere. Alright, opponent plays Indulgent Aristocrat. Aether Vial ticking up. We draw Glasspool Mimic. So play Glasspool Shore. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. Plays a Swamp. Goes to combat. Does not attack and passes. We untap. Vial going up to 2. It looks like they have Victim of Night. We draw Wall of Omens. Play Flooded Strand. And I guess we just pass. Opponent untaps. They play a Swamp. Opponent plays Captivating Vampire. Okay. So they go to combat. This gets us a lot of cards drawn. Vial in Wall of Omens. We draw a card. Another Aether Vial. Block here. We'll go for the Ephemerate. See what we get. Watcher. Okay. Take no damage. Opponent gains no life. So, crack Flooded Strand. Get a Sacred Foundry tapped. Untap. I'm going to Vial in Watcher for tomorrow in response to Vial's trigger. Never mind, I auto-yielded. Yep, Aether Vial taken up to 3. That's totally what I meant to do. Flicker Wall, draw again. We get a Plains. We draw a Mountain for turn. That's what I get for auto-yielding to specific triggers. Should never do that. Play Plains. Play Guardian. Flicker Glasspool Mimic. Copy Guardian. Flicker Wall. Draw Guardian. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They play a Swamp. Vampire Nocturnus. Gatekeeper of Malakir. Not kicked. So this tells me they still have, like, Victim of Night. Okay. We untap. Aether Vial is going to go up to 4. We draw another Ephemerate. Play a Mountain. Play Watcher for tomorrow. We can get Ephemerate. Rest to the bottom. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They play a Swamp. They play Sorin, Imperious Bloodlord. Sure. So they're going to uptick Gatekeeper of Malakir. They go to combat. They attack for 4. Block with the Glasspool Mimic Felidar. Vial in Felidar. Flicker Felidar. Actually Glasspool Mimic. Opponent lets it happen. Glass Pool Mimic, copy Watcher for tomorrow. We get Saheeli Rai, and that should be the game. So, pass the turn. Ephemerate Watcher. This time they Victim of Night. Okay, that makes our life way easier. Even if they have Slaughter Pact, we can play around this. We still get Saheeli. They do blank Ephemerate. So we untap. Aether Vial gonna stay on 4. Draw Arid Mesa. Play Saheeli. Clone Cat. Opponent might actually make me play this out, at which point I would have to restart the client. Alright, we win the match. Thank you, opponent, for being courteous. And I will see you all in round 5. Alright, for round 5, we'll be on the draw. I mean, we have just a combo hand, but sure, we'll keep it. We have a lot of 1 and 2 drops in this deck that we can draw. Okay, opponent leads on Misty Rainforest for basic forest into an Arboreal Grazer, so it's looking like Amulet. We might have some trouble with Amulet, depending on how fast their hand is. Alright, we get an Aether Vial, so lead on Plains, play Aether Vial. Pass the turn. Opponent explores. So they can play 2 lands this turn. They play Colony Garden, and they play Castle. So next turn they can play Titan. It's pretty good. We draw Felidar Guardian. Play Steam Vents tapped. Pass the turn. They play a Forest. Here comes the Titan. Yep. They get a Talaria West and Simic Growth Chamber. That's kind of interesting. So we untap. Aether Vial going up to 2. Draw another Felidar Guardian. So we can either play Soul Herder or play Saheeli. If we play Saheeli, she just dies. Of course, we're dead anyway next turn. I think we just kind of hide what we're doing here. I don't think we can beat that. Okay, so versus our opponent, I kind of want Damping Sphere and Force of Negation and Avalanche Riders. We'll take out, like, Bugler. Champion is not as good, because it's not like they're making Field of the Dead tokens or anything. Cut a Herder, cut Saheeli. Venser still potentially has game. Cut 1 Mimic, a Bugler, and a Guardian, I think. Just kind of trim everything down slightly, and hope this is going to be enough. Really, we're going to need Damping Sphere or a really sick Force of Negation hitting a turn 1 Amulet to do anything. Alright, I will play first. Oh, we've got Damping Sphere, we got Force. We'll keep. Start Flooded Strand. Pass the turn. When it leads on Amulet, I'm going to force that. I could have waited until I could Skyclave Apparition it, but I don't think that's good enough. So, fetch up a Steam Vents tapped. We untap. Draw Watcher. Yeah, let's just go Damping Sphere. Pass the turn. They play Castle Garenbrig, which no longer ramps them. We untap and draw Ephemerate. Play Watcher. Watcher gonna pick up... They're gonna Dismember it in response. We'll Ephemerate it in response. Oh, I can't, never mind. They kill Watcher. Hideaway, we have to hide away something. So I guess I'll hide away a second Damping Sphere, rest of the bottom. Pass the turn. Opponent plays Selesnya Sanctuary, has to pick up a forest. We draw a Wall of Omens. Play Wall. Draw a Hallowed Fountain. Play Hallowed Fountain tapped. Pass the turn. Okay, opponent plays Tireless Tracker. We're going to Ephemerate the Wall. Draw another Wall. Pass the turn. I'm not going to cast this Ephemerate. We draw Avalanche Riders. Play Skyclave Apparition. Take out the Tracker. Pass the turn. Next turn we can Stone Rain them. They play another Tracker. Well, I guess it's good we took out the first one, because 2 Trackers would be pretty good. We untap, we draw Aether Vial. Play Wall. Play a Plains. Play Aether Vial. Not willing to... I guess I should have been willing to trade there. I should have attacked for 2, because if they traded, then they're not getting Tireless Tracker tokens to draw a bunch of extra cards. Missing out on the latter half of that Ephemerate due to Damping Sphere is something I was worried about when I first saw it in the list. Opponent floats mana off of a forest, gets a clue, picks up the forest. They can crack a clue now, and they're big enough to swing past the walls. They beast within Damping Sphere. Okay. That sucks. They crack a clue, draw a card. Now, even if I Stone Rain a bounce land, They can still cast Titan next turn. Man, I wish that was an Ephemerate. Blow up the Simic bounce land. Go to combat. Attack for 3. And I'm going to pump fake that this is like an Ephemerate or something in my hand. His opponent can play a Forest, get a Clue, and have exactly enough mana to cast a Primeval Titan. Which is what we were trying to avoid. But opponent had the Beast Within. Well, they draw off of Clue, so they don't just immediately have it. They play another bounce land, get a token, pick up Castle. Castle is also now a tap land. They can crack this Clue to draw. They do. Alright. Come on, Ephemerate. Opponent discards. I am going to pay for the Avalanche Riders. Aether Vial going up to 2. We draw a Glasspool Mimic. Oh, if only we had one more mana. Pass the turn. Opponent plays a Forest. They have 6 mana now. They cast Explore. Not what I expected them to do. They play another Castle. They get a Clue. Oh, wow, that still gave them enough mana. And they Summoner's Pact. Well, Mimic alone is not going to be enough. They play Primeval Titan. Probably get, like, Colony Garden and... or Talaria West and the Simic Bounce land, I guess. Double Valakut. Alright. They pass. We untap. File going up to 3. We draw another Avalanche Riders, so even if I blow up both Selesnya Sanctuaries, we're still kind of in trouble. I could get rid of Tireless Tracker by cloning Skyclave, but that doesn't stop the raging Primeval problem that we have. I could try and clone Wall of Omens to draw and maybe hit Saheeli. And if I hit Saheeli, that gives them something they have to kill, because they probably can't... Well, if I blow up both Selesnya Sanctuaries, they have to spend all of their mana on their upkeep. So I guess that's the play. So, Violin, Glasspool Mimic, copy Avalanche Riders, blow up Sanctuary, play Avalanche Riders, blow up Sanctuary, pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They have to pay 4, so we tie up their mana on their upkeep. So they can't just play the Dryad and kill us. If they attack with Primeval Titan, we can block it down. It's not a great plan, but it should work. Okay, so let's see what lands they get. Alright, 2 Growth Chambers. They get tokens off of Tireless Tracker. Growth Chamber gonna bounce. Forest. Growth Chamber gonna bounce. Garenbrig. Block. Block. And block. Okay. So I'm not paying the Echo cost for this last Avalanche Riders. Gonna plays a Forest. Probably cracks a Clue here. No reason to do that at sorcery speed, though. So, Aether Vial. Avalanche Riders, we're gonna let it die. Aether Vial, I'm gonna let it go to 4. We draw Saheeli Rai. Play Saheeli Rai. Clone Avalanche Riders. If we blow up the Growth Chamber, they'll still have the mana. So I think we blow up the Valakut. Like, we're basically dead to Dryad plus, Titan. We lose our Avalanche Riders. Opponent untaps. They draw. Summoner's Pact. They get Dryad of the Elysian Grove, so they can kill Saheeli this way, as well as most of our board. Yep. Vesuva copying Valakut. 2 Valakut triggers. They're going to do 6 to us, and then they're probably going to play an untapped land, play a Titan, and that'll be death. There's the untapped land. This takes us to 7. They go to combat. They don't attack. Well, if they don't have Dismember or Beast Within and we draw the cat, we win. Oh, never mind. They just have another Summoner's Pact. That's death. That's 4 Valakut triggers. Okay. Well, honestly, I think this deck is way better than I showed it off to be, because I know Aspiring Spike has been absolutely like beating the meta with it, and I kept a lot of questionable hands. I think the deck's good. The games where we were winning, it just felt like our opponent didn't have a prayer. We drew like 9 cards, more than them. We'd build a bigger board, and we'd finish off with an infinite combo. One opponent did not scoop to the infinite life, which is fine. You don't have to. It's not expected. But it is polite. I mean, I don't, as long as I have a way in the deck to beat the infinite life combo. So like if I'm playing Tron against, I don't know, Heliod Company, and I still have an Ulamog left, I let him combo off for infinite life until they can kill me with infinite damage. But Militia Bugler has some pretty insane synergy with this deck. I went over a lot of this during the deck tech, but the constant flickering to draw extra cards and stuff like that is super, super powerful. Just completely obliterated our Grixis control opponent, because the first game they had like 7 counter spells / kill spells, and then they ran out and we were still drawing cards because our guys were resolving and then they were drawing us cards. Auriok Champion is incredibly powerful in the current metagame because unless you counterspell it, the top decks are all playing red and black, and so you're just gonna... what are they gonna do about it? They're gonna flash in a Snapcaster to block it, and as long as you don't attack with it, you're gonna gain enough life to carry you into the end game until you can do your combo. It's pretty sweet. I'm not a huge fan of Saheeli Rai Felidar Guardian decks, but I still think this deck is quite strong. I still think the combo is quite strong, especially when you support it in a shell like this. I kind of expect to see more people start playing Ephemerate blue-white decks. We already ran into it at least once before, I mentioned at the beginning of the video. Sideboard feels like it could use some work. Definitely, if you don't have the 4th Auriok Champion, don't play a Core Firewalker, play something else. Even though Core Firewalker does fit in with the Militia Bugler Washer for Tomorrow nonsense, play something else. I know there's not a lot of good 1-drops we could play in this deck. The only one that sticks out is maybe Thraben Inspector, but there were several times where our hands just felt a little bit too heavy, and without Aether Vial coming down turn 1. Honestly, I feel like I should be mulliganing to Aether Vial pretty frequently. If I'm not playing Aether Vial on turn 1, and I don't play anything else turn 1, it feels bad. Like, playing Glasspool Mimic tapped is reasonable there, and that's totally fine, but not getting on the board turn 1, not generating some sort of value, feels kind of bad to me. So I could totally see going down a Militia Bugler for a Thraben Inspector just for something else to do. This isn't really the deck where you'd want Giver of Runes, because while Giver of Runes would help you keep your guys alive, you're not trying to make connections with a Skyclave Apparition wielding a Batterskull, as an example. Giver of Runes is nice when you have a particular creature that you want to protect. And I mean, we sort of do in the form of like Felidar Guardian, but generally, if your opponent can interact with Felidar Guardian, they can interact with Saheeli Rai, that half of the combo, so not sure. Really happy to see Avalanche Riders in this list. Avalanche Riders did a lot of work for us. Titan feels like a bad matchup, but we were also like 2-2 going into round 5, so I have no idea what we were going to play. And I'm not saying Titan's a bad deck. I still think it's one of the best decks in the format, but it's definitely a bad matchup for this one. I don't think I have much else to say, so if you guys enjoyed this video, please leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel if you're so inclined, and remember you can follow me on Twitch. Same username over there as you find me on here. I stream Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, though the last video have been earlier. And, yeah, it's been good. Hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye!